the press conference portion. Yeah.
I'll call on the recorders.
Great.
I think a lot of them are virtual, so I'll call on Anka because they're texting her. Okay. And then
I'm glad you're here because I don't know all the technical
yeah.
Fair enough.
And I think they'll be pretty short, max 15 minutes. I'll let them know, you know, when they're done. And I'll ask them to, you know, if they have a question specifically for you, to ask you, and I'm sure the governor will refer to you also if she feels like it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm here to help. Whatever's needed.
Great, great.
So did you get any travel in this summer? You able to get away at all?
No, I can't do all this stuff. We're going to take a little vacation.
Okay.
So,
That's great.
yeah, because we were going to do it, and it's just like,
Right.
but, you know, that's okay. It's life, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, and where was your wedding? It was outside of Paris. Yeah. I heard it was somewhere.
It was we've known her for 20 years. Remember the wedding party planned for 2 years, just finished the wedding. It was like, oh no.
All right.
Well, I'm glad you're able to
So
be there.
thank you so much.
That's special.
Yeah,
You don't
for
want to
sure.
miss that kind of
For sure.
All right. Per usual, I'll call on you. We'll switch off with virtual questions if Anka has any. We got 15 minutes. And we have Representative Sosa here if you want to ask him a question too.
He's the technical expert, so.
Do what I can.
So you said this bill is about helping Oregonians make ends meet, but how do you balance that with your plan to raise taxes with the transportation bill?
You know, it's important to bring up, there are so many costs that Oregonians are dealing with. So let's talk about transportation. It is really important to make sure for folks who need to get to work and need to live their daily lives that the roads are dependable and safe. The transportation discussion is about making sure our roads are maintained, that they are open no matter what the weather is like, and that they are maintained so people can get to work. It is a safety issue. And I would also say those votes are always difficult. You know, anytime you have to, you know, change what people are paying, you know, either for their gas or for registering their car, but that's how we've been paying for those things in the past. We have to maintain our roads, and we also have to do all those other things we can to help people have predictability in managing their costs. But it is very important to make sure people can get to work, get to school, get to the hospital, and that's what it means to get this package done this week.
And just a quick follow-up, do you still plan to have that vote on the 17th, and do you still feel confident that you have the votes passed?
My understanding from legislative leaders in the Senate is the vote is on path for Wednesday. Well, I think the signs are good that everyone will be able to be there on Wednesday, and hopefully that will be, the closure of the special session. But, life can intervene, and if something comes up, we'll continue to extend until we get it done. The layoffs are, at this point, delayed. The effective date of those are delayed until the middle of October. So we have a little breathing space. But again, I feel what I'm hearing is that the session on Wednesday will go off according to plan.
Session-wise, you had the chief of staff of Portland Schools saying a couple weeks ago, hey, I understand, there's some needs for ODOT, but what about education? Why not have a special session to fully fund education?
Well, I do think the legislature passed a very historic state school fund, given all of the budget constraints facing our state. The state school fund budget is historically at high levels. We stabilized how those dollars were being determined by the districts. In addition, there is new investments for early literacy and other things. Every system in the state is under strain, but let's talk about transportation. The Oregon Department of Transportation, without a funding package, is unfunded, which means layoffs would have to go through. That is a different situation than any system at the moment.
Third question myself is the flag controversy, where some cities said no, even though the president directed us to take the flag down to half. Staff for Charlie Kirk, you chose to go ahead and follow that directive. Why did you decide to do that?
I believe in, well, there's two things here. One, my protocol is to follow the presidential declarations, and so there was a declaration made to lower the flags, and so I want to follow that. And I also think it's really important in this time of divisiveness in our country that we focus on what happened, which was political violence. No one should lose their life based on their point of view. And I think it's important to send a message that we are one country, we are one state, we have to come together, and if it's something symbolic as lowering the flag to say, hey, we should all think about what's going on, then I can support that.
President Trump continues to select cities where he is sending in federal agents to clean up crime and homelessness. What's your message to him if he were to target Portland?
Well, in Portland, our crime numbers are down. We have community safety. Sure, like any large city, there are issues, but there is a concerted effort to promote community safety. We are appropriately dealing with any protests. There is not a problem in Portland, and I think local law enforcement has it under control, and I would just as soon they leave our city alone.
Just a quick follow-up too. President Trump says he will call a national emergency again in D.C. if local police do not cooperate with ICE. Portland police has been clear they don't assist ICE. What is your message to the White House about immigration enforcement in Oregon and as a sanctuary state?
Well, I think local law enforcement has their lane, and we do it well, and federal, immigration enforcement has their lane, and we are very clear what the rules are here in Oregon and how we work together. And when it comes to putting members of the military in our cities, I don't believe that is the best use of Guard members or active military. Here in Oregon, I'm the Commander-in-Chief of the Oregon National Guard. We should be focused on what the Guard needs to do to keep Oregon safe. We don't need them in the streets of our city, and I don't think that's true in any other part of the country as well.
Any consumer protection questions?
I'll have one. You talked about today the dismantling of the CFPB, and I just want you to possibly elaborate on those comments even more specifically about the impact that it's having on consumers, not only in Oregon, but across the country.
Yeah, do you want to answer that one too? Sure. Yeah, and then I will too, but.
Okay, thank you. So we have seen from the very beginning that the Trump administration has been trying to roll back consumer protections at the federal level, and I think a very good example of that is it was the federal standard that medical debt was not to be included on credit reports. Now, there was a court decision that came down, said that the agency had gone a bit beyond what Congress had authorized, but even so, the Trump administration said that they were very supportive of that decision and thought that these credit reports should include medical debt. Well, here in Oregon, we disagreed. We said, no, we think that folks should not be penalized for that. Their financial future should not be put in jeopardy because they had an unexpected illness or an emergency. And so that's, I think, a great example of how we as a state put into effect a law that supports something that had been at the federal level and is now gone. And we are in active conversations with our Department of Consumer and Business Services in terms of what other protections that we have relied on potentially for decades are now disappearing, that we need to be looking at to backfill and to ensure that Oregonians continue to enjoy those consumer protections that they've come to expect. And if there are remaining gaps in our system, how can we fill those as a state, just to ensure that we have a fair and equitable marketplace for everybody.
Thank you, Representative. Yeah, and if you go look at the numbers for the federal agency, the consumer agency at the national level, millions of dollars were going back to consumers because of cases against credit card companies and banks and other types of financial services in particular, where people were just getting the raw end of the deal. And those protections are just not there anymore. In fact, they want to dismantle that agency. So I support Rep. Sosa and legislators trying to do what we can here locally. The irony of that is that it creates this patchwork across the country. Well, if that's what we have to do, we're going to do that because we have to stand up for Oregonians, and if that means the state taking a more assertive role, we're going to do that.
Member for questions? Well, I'll be magnanimous. One for each of you if you want.
You good? Thank you so much for paying attention to these bills, and anything you need follow-up, let us know. We appreciate you.
Thank you so
Thanks. Nicely done, thank you.
Thank you so much. I sure appreciate it.